Only 1% dark chosen ones experience these 7 demonic nights. There's something that happens to a very specific type of soul, not the ordinary seeker, not the casual meditator, not even the awakened empath. I'm talking about the 1%, the dark chosen ones, the ones who didn't just stumble into spirituality for peace or comfort, but were dragged into it by forces they couldn't name. You know who you are. You didn't volunteer for this path. It found you. It claimed you. And from that moment, your life stopped following the usual rules. You entered a different contract with reality itself, one that includes 7 nights, 7 initiations, 7 demonic nights that no book, guru, or internet blog could ever prepare you for. We call them demonic nights not because literal demons always appear, though sometimes they do, but because these nights strip you down to your bones. They challenge your core identity. They expose the illusions you didn't even know you were clinging to. These aren't metaphorical rough patches. These are cosmic-level deconstructions. And if you've been through even one of them, you already know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, count your blessings or get ready. Because once it starts, there's no going back. The first demonic night doesn't knock. It crashes. It doesn't show up when you're ready. It shows up when you're weakest. It doesn't whisper. It screams. It usually begins with a collapse of your job, your relationship, your mind, or your sense of self. At first, you think it's just a bad time. You try to rationalize it, fix it, seek help. But nothing works. That's the first clue. Because this isn't happening to you, it's happening through you. And the more you resist it, the deeper it pulls you in. It's like being swallowed by a void that speaks in riddles. You lose the linear sense of time. Hours blur into days. Sleep becomes torment or disappears altogether. Your body feels like it's being pulled out of phase. And here's the kicker, no one around you can truly see it.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
That's the terrifying part. You're screaming inside, but the world keeps moving like nothing is wrong. You try to explain it, but there are no words. People give you advice, but it all sounds like static. And that's when it hits you. This is not a psychological episode. This is a dimensional initiation. Something ancient, something intelligent, something that knows exactly what chords to cut and what masks to rip off. You're not going crazy, you're being recalibrated. The first demonic night is the night of disintegration. Everything you thought you were, ambitions, beliefs, ego structures, even your spiritual identity begins to decay. You feel watched. You feel hunted. But paradoxically, you also feel like you're watching yourself fall apart. It's as if your higher self is standing silently in the corner, not intervening, just observing. And you want to scream, "Help me." But it won't, not yet. Because help would interfere with the purification process. And this is sacred. As horrifying as it seems, this is your soul saying, "I'm ready to meet myself beyond delusion." And so you fall. Not just emotionally, but existentially. You question everything. Not just your relationships or your goals, but the fabric of existence. You stare at the sky and wonder if anything is even real. You look in the mirror and feel no resonance with the face staring back at you. You begin to feel like a ghost in your own life. And if you're really deep in it, you'll start to feel the presence of something else, a force, a shadow, a silence that seems to be pressing against your skin from the inside. It doesn't speak in words. It doesn't offer comfort. It just is. And somehow, that's worse than any horror you've ever imagined. Now here's where most people break. They run. They numb. They seek distraction. And for many that works temporarily. But for the dark chosen ones, running doesn't work. The void follows you. The silence infects every corner of your waking life. And that's when you realize you're not just being haunted, you're being invited. But into what? What? That's the question you must ask yourself. What if this darkness isn't here to destroy me, but to initiate me into something I've forgotten I agreed to long ago? Because the truth is this, the first demonic night isn't an accident. It's a summons, a cosmic knock on the door you closed when you incarnated into this body. And now it's time to answer. But you can't answer with words. You answer by surrendering, not in defeat but in reverence. You surrender your plans, your structures, your false light. And you sit. You face the unfaceable. You breathe into the terror that has no name. And when you do, something begins to shift. You start to hear whispers not from outside, but from deep within. Memories that aren't yours. Symbols that don't belong to this life. You begin to sense fragments of other versions of you, of other timelines, of other realms. And suddenly the pain isn't just pain. It's data. It's activation. You are being reconstructed from the inside out. But the old version of you must die first, and that's what the first night ensures. So I ask you now, from one dark chosen one to another, if every breakdown in your life was part of a larger spiritual architecture, would you still call it suffering? Or would you call it initiation? Because what comes after this is far stranger, deeper, and more dangerous. The possession of silence. Why the second demonic night isn't about fear, it's about surrendering your identity. The second demonic night doesn't come with fire. It doesn't come with screams. It comes with silence so loud it suffocates. After the chaos of the first collapse, your body aches for rest, for clarity, for even a sliver of light. But instead, what you receive is nothing. No signs, no answers, no emotion. Just stillness that feels like death itself. But it's not the end. It's the space between deaths. It's where the old self has crumbled, but the new self has not yet been born. It's the void between identities, and that void is vast. This night is not about fear, though fear lingers like mist in the corners of your mind. It's about erasure. You try to speak, but the words feel empty. You try to pray, but the divine feels deaf. You try to remember who you are, but nothing feels real anymore. And that's the point. Because the second demonic night isn't about external demons. It's about the inner silence that creeps in when the ego has nothing left to cling to. It's about what happens when even your spiritual persona falls apart. It's about the absence of everything you once thought made you you. You begin to realize that the silence is not passive. It's intelligent. It's watching you, testing you, not in a cruel way, but in a way that demands presence beyond performance. This is the night where you can no longer fake progress, no longer cling to mantras or rituals or identities. This is the night where even your most sacred tools lose their power, because now you must face the one thing no one wants to face. Who are you with nothing left? You see, most people build their lives on noise, mental noise, emotional narratives, social labels, but when all of that is stripped away, only the essence remains, and that essence does not scream. It does not beg. It waits, patient, unmoving, like a black monolith in the center of your soul. You reach for it and feel nothing. And that's when the panic starts. Not because something is wrong, but because for the first time, your mind realizes it has no control here. And your spirit, your true spirit, begins to stir. This is the moment of possession by silence, not possession by an entity, but by a force that reclaims you. A force that isn't bound by language or belief systems. A force that was you before you were born. You begin to feel it, this intelligence pulsing through your cells, not asking you to act, but to yield. And everything inside you that still wants to perform, to prove, to escape, begins to burn. Not in fire, but in stillness. And this is where the rare few break open, because this silence, this second night, is not empty. It's full. Full of everything you've ignored. Full of raw potential. Full of the truth you've been running from in every incarnation. But to access it, you must do something almost impossible. Stop becoming. You must stop striving. Stop manifesting. Stop clinging to the idea that you are becoming something. Because in the second demonic night, you realize you have always been it. But you forgot. And now, silence is reminding you not with words, but with presence. So here's the deeper question. Can you sit in the void without naming it? Can you let your identity collapse without rushing to replace it with another? Can you let yourself be nobody and still feel whole? Because that's what this night is about. It's not an absence of meaning. It's the purification of meaning. You are being emptied so that what is eternal can finally emerge. And let me tell you something that no one talks about. Right before that emergence, you will feel like you're dying. Not physically, but spiritually. You will feel like you're being erased from reality. You will wonder if you've slipped between dimensions and been forgotten. But that's only because your ego has no reference point for what's coming next. What's coming is not a new version of you. It's the original signal. The one that existed before the world got its hands on you. The one that doesn't need a name, a role, or an audience. The one that speaks not in words, but in frequency. And once that signal starts to rise, everything changes. But to hear it, you must first become silent enough to receive it. So I ask you now, are you willing to disappear so that your real self can finally emerge? Because the third night is when the mirror appears, and what you see in it will either liberate you or destroy you. The mirror of beasts, why the third demonic night forces you to look into what you've spent lifelines avoiding. There's a moment after the silence has stripped you bare, where you feel a strange calm, a false peace. You think maybe it's over, maybe the worst has passed. But that's when the third night begins. It doesn't announce itself with thunder or collapse. It begins with a reflection, subtle, quiet at first. Then, undeniable. It shows up in dreams, or in the eyes of someone you love, or in the stillness of your own mind. A mirror appears. But this mirror does not reflect your face. It reflects your shadow. And not just the shadow you've gathered in this life, but the one you've been avoiding across lifetimes. This is the night of confrontation, and it doesn't play fair. It doesn't give you time to prepare. It doesn't give you the version of yourself you think you're ready to face. It gives you the raw, unfiltered, uncensored image of every part of you that you've denied, suppressed, or buried under spiritual performance. You see your jealousy, your rage, your manipulation, your self-abandonment, your desire for control, your fear of being forgotten. But it goes even deeper than that. You begin to see the beast, the archetypal force that lives inside you, the one you've spent lifetimes pretending wasn't real. This beast isn't evil. It isn't trying to destroy you. But it is hungry. Hungry for truth. Hungry for presence. Hungry to be acknowledged. And here's the most terrifying part: it looks like you. Not the polished version, not the healed version, but the primal, wounded, powerful version that was cast out long ago. And now it wants back in. Most people never make it past this night. They flinch. They divert. They go back into denial. Because to look into this mirror is to see not just your pain, but your participation in cycles of destruction. You begin to see how you've hurt others, not just unintentionally, but willfully. You see how you've used your power to manipulate realities, how you've wielded your light to bypass your responsibility. You see how you've created entire personas to avoid accountability. And the mirror does not blink. It does not soften. It holds you there until you either break or integrate. And this is where the true transformation begins, not through shame, not through guilt, but through radical ownership, you begin to realize that the beast is not separate from you. It is you. It is your unclaimed energy, your unspoken truth, your unexpressed power. It is the part of you that was demonized by systems of control, by wounded lineages, by your own inner child, who thought being good was the only way to survive. But now the mirror shows you being good is not the same as being whole. So what do you do when the beast looks back and says, "I'm not leaving"? You have two choices. You can fight it, repress it, spiritualize it, and keep looping in the same karmic patterns, or you can sit with it. You can ask it questions, you can listen. Because when you stop resisting the beast, something extraordinary happens. It begins to shift. It stops snarling. It stops attacking. And it starts weeping. Because it was never trying to destroy you. It was trying to return home. This is where the deepest wisdom is born. You realize that your darkness is not something to be exorcised. It's something to be embraced, not indulged, not justified, but held, alchemized, integrated. Because only then can you become what you were always meant to be, not a master of the light, but a guardian of the spectrum, a being who walks with the beast at your side, not locked in a cage. And that changes everything. Your energy shifts, your presence deepens, people begin to feel it, not because you're performing healing, but because you embody truth. And that truth carries a frequency that no false light can imitate. It's the frequency of someone who has seen themselves fully and chosen to stay. So let me ask you now, what are you still afraid to see in yourself? What part of you have you labeled too dark, too dangerous, too much? And what if that part holds the exact power you've been searching for all along? Because once you face the beast, the next night begins. And that night doesn't just show you who you are. It shows you every version of who you've ever been, all at once. The fourth night, when time collapses and you remember every life you've ever failed to complete. You think you're beginning to understand the journey. You've faced the collapse. You've endured the silence. You've stared into the eyes of your inner beast. But nothing prepares you for what comes next, not because it's more painful, but because it's more vast. The fourth demonic night doesn't shake your world, it dissolves it. It doesn't destroy your ego, it removes the illusion that time itself was ever real. This night is not just a test of endurance. It's a complete undoing of your identity across every incarnation you've ever lived. Time collapses. And what's left is a flood, a torrent of memory, emotion, regret, wisdom, and unfinished business that does not belong to this life alone. You begin to remember, not mentally, but through your blood, through your bones, through spontaneous emotion that surges through you without origin. You feel loss so ancient it has no name. You feel guilt for choices made in places you've never been. You feel love for souls you've never met in this lifetime, but you know them. Somewhere deeper than thought, you know them. And for the first time, you understand your pain wasn't born here. It was activated here. You've been carrying echoes, fragments, entire timelines that were never resolved. And now, the veil has lifted. There is no longer a past, present, or future. There is only now, and now contains everything. You see yourself as the warrior who never forgave himself, as the priestess who betrayed her own intuition, as the child who died with a secret, as the ruler who chose power over truth, as the lover who walked away. You see not just your light, but your incompletions. And for a moment it's unbearable, because you realize just how much of your current life has been shaped by lives you forgot. The patterns you thought were just yours are revealed to be ancient agreements. You see why certain people trigger you, why certain places feel like home, why certain wounds refuse to heal. It's all connected. Every life is feeding this one. Every choice is echoing now. But this is not punishment. It's invitation. This night is showing you that you're not broken, you're fragmented. And the fragments are not lost. They are waiting for integration, for remembrance, for your permission to return. And here's the truth: you don't need to go on a pilgrimage to access them. You don't need to chant in a cave or find a guru. You just need to listen. This night teaches you how. It shows you how to be still enough to hear the whispers of your multidimensional self. It shows you how to open the door to your own soul history, not to cling to it, but to complete it. Completion doesn't mean fixing every story. It means owning them. It means saying, yes, I was that. And I am also this. And I choose now to hold both with love. Because when you do that, something miraculous happens. The karmic loops begin to dissolve. You stop reacting to life as if it's attacking you. You start responding as if you chose this moment. Because in truth you did. You chose this exact configuration of people, pain, and possibility so you could heal the entire web through one point of power, you. So I ask you now, what are you still running from that isn't even from this life? What if your deepest fear is just a memory trying to return home? What if your destiny is not to escape your history, but to rewrite its ending through presence? This is what the fourth night reveals. You are not just a person, you are a portal. And through you, generations of silence can finally speak. Through you, ancient pain can find peace. Through you, the unfinished can come to rest. And when that happens, when you allow the totality of your being to return to the center, you become something else. Not just awakened, not just whole. You become dangerous to the systems that rely on your amnesia. You become a living archive of truth, and no one can control a being who remembers who they really are. So if you are here, reading this, feeling this, remembering this, you are not just chosen. You are the completion code. And now others will awaken through your remembering. The demonic nights are not the end. They are the threshold. And you, my friend, have just stepped through it.